Good morning, Mustangs. It is September 9th. Yep, it is Monday, September 9th. I had to look because I'm doing all of these videos at the same time. You're welcome. You're in Utah Studies, woot. And today, this whole week, we're going to start looking at the problems that are in Utah. The first thing we're going to look at is land use, and then we're going to start looking at water. I wanted to start with land use because we don't really get a lot of time with this, and this is a good thing for you to kind of research on your own. It's going to be very similar to the slideshow that we did on Thursday about regions. Instead of a slideshow, though, you're going to be doing a Google Doc on Google Classroom. So it's going to be very similar to that. So let's start today with the objective. So up on the board, your objective for today is I can learn about land use in the state of Utah and who ends up using the most land in Utah. So that needs to be in your planner for today. So I can learn about land use in the state of Utah and who ends up using the most land in Utah. Before we get started, though, looking on those things, we are going to do a starter. I'm going to have the subposit here, though. Please make sure that your objective is written down in your planner. So do that now, please. Go ahead and pause this and we'll come back. Okay, so now that you've done your objective, let's go through our agenda for today, kind of what you're doing. So you've written your objective in your planner. We're going to do a starter question on Google Classroom. You're going to have a few minutes to work on that. You're going to do your Utah land use assignment, which is also on Google Classroom. And then if you do get finished with both of those things, there's a choice board. It's choice board number 2 on our Google Classroom. So there's quite a few things on Google Classroom for you to do today. So you should not be bored. You should always have something to do. So let's just be aware of those things. So you have a starter first. So let's look at that now. So your starter for today, which is on Google Classroom, is starter for September 9th, 2019. The starter is, who has the right to use the land in Utah? Who has that right? Who should be allowed to use it? That's what a right is. It's someone who's allowed to do something. So who has that right? The second part of that question is, who should control who gets to use that land and why? So we have a lot of empty land in Utah. Who should have to control who gets to use that land? The last question is, should the controlling agency, so whoever you want to control it, get to decide who uses the land, or does other people get to decide? Do we get to decide? Do the communities get to decide? Who gets to decide how the land is used? So you get to decide that as well. These are hard questions that I don't expect you to know the answers to. I'm just curious about your opinion on this because these are things that will be important for you later in life. So you're going to have about 7 minutes to do this question on Google Classroom. Today you do not need to respond to anyone else. I just want your answer for those questions. So who do you think has the right to use the land in Utah? Who should control who gets to use the land in Utah and why? And should that group that controls the land get to decide who uses the land, or does someone else get to decide? So even though they control the land, do they get to decide who gets to use it? So again, I only want you to respond to this. I don't want you to respond to anyone else. I just want your opinion, and I will look at those today. So go ahead and pause me here. You're going to have 7 minutes to answer those questions on Google Classroom. Thanks. Okay, so now that you're done with your starter, we're going to look at your assignment. It is on Google Classroom. It is called a Land Use Lesson, or Land Use of Utah Lesson. There should be an assignment for you that says Bears Ears Monument, or Handy Bears Ear Monument. It should say your name on it. And at the top, it should say Land Use in Utah and Bears Ears National Monument. Bears Ears was a national monument that was created by President Obama in 2016. He was asked to do that by a group of Native Americans who are from Arizona, and Bears Ears is to them a sacred place, and so they thought asking the president to create a national monument would be a good idea. Well, it's caused some controversy because that area is not controlled by that tribe that asked for that. It's actually controlled by the community that lives there, and so it's caused some problems. So your assignment today is to kind of look at what we expect from land use in Utah. So let's look through a couple of the questions really quickly for you. The first question says, how much of Utah does the federal government own and control? How much of Utah does the state government control? How much of Utah is tribal lands, and how much of Utah is private lands? If you look to the left of those questions, there's a little graph there, and it tells you, if you look at the color code underneath, what color is controlled by what. So that's where you're going to get your first 4 answers. The next questions are kind of the same. You're going to use the graph at the left to answer those questions. Make sure you read the little blurb right above about public lands. You should know what that says. Number 7, you're going to go to the website that it has a little link to, so it's a hyperlink. So you click on that and it's going to send you to the reading you need to read. And you're going to answer the question. Number 8 is all about we're starting to get into what should be protected and what should not be protected. So make sure you look at number 8. And then number 9 starts getting into this idea of Bears Ears and national parks. How much land should be controlled by the federal government? So number 9 talks about Bears Ears National Monument, and then there's a couple of videos on there I want you to watch. You will need headphones for that, so make sure you have your earbuds that you got with your computer. If you did not get some, I believe there are some headphones in the closet, but I will leave instructions with the sub for where those are. So there are 2 videos. You need to answer the questions above. What are the reasons for protecting Bears Ears National Monument, and what are the reasons against protecting Bears Ears? After you do number 10, you're going to read the article for number 11 about the truth and some of the claims about Bears Ears. And so you're going to read through it and then answer the last 2 questions. Do you think too much of Utah is owned by the federal government? And do you think Bears Ears should be protected? Why or why not? So you get to decide on your own. You get to have an opinion. The last 2 questions are about your learning today. So what did you learn? Did you learn something new? And what was it? And then were you curious? Did you ask yourself questions? Did you find answers to the questions provided? These are kind of the assignments we want you to do because we want you to research stuff on your own. Those are the best ways to learn things. So this is going to be your assignment for today. If you get finished with this, there is a choice board on Google Classroom. It's a choice board about water and land. There's a couple games on there and things like that, so you can work on those as well. But your land use lesson should take the majority of the time. If you are missing a map or you haven't quite finished your map, this would also be a good time to do that. So you have 3 options. You need to do the land use lesson first. If and after you have turned that in, you have some time, my suggestion is to do the choice board or finish your Utah map if you have not turned it in. So those are your options for today. If you have any questions, feel free to drop me an email. I've got access to email. It's on my phone. So send me a quick email and I will try and get back to you as quick as I can. Also, the sub should have as many answers as well. So if you have any questions, let me know. But you guys are going to rock it, and I will see you tomorrow. Thanks, Utah Studies.